Uh, all right, everybody, welcome to the Mortgage Coach Tuesday interview. Every Tuesday, 9 o'clock for over 15 years. I am interviewing someone amazing. Often it is a top producing loan officer that's closing a lot of volume and doing it right. Sometimes it's authors from outside the industry. And today we've got a leader. We've got someone who has been one of America's top producing loan officers. He's now a producing regional leader of a badass brand called Neo. Welcome to the community. How's it going, Josh?
Never better, brother. Great to be here with you and glad to share some ideas with everybody today.
Yeah, well, before we get into the topic at hand, we're a little more than a month and a week from the Modern Mortgage Summit. And for folks, you can watch it virtually, so it's going to be the same price as last year. You can go to the website, modernmortgagesummit.com. We'll put a link down below and sign up for virtual. We still do have some seats available for the in-person event. It's going to be limited to 60 folks who can actually go there in person. But Josh, you're going to be there in person and you're going to be doing a TED Talk. What is your topic going to be?
Well, first of all, before I get into the topic, what I love about the way you've done this year is you've kept it exclusive. And I think the framework that you shared with me was the people that are there in person are going to be the top industry, changers across the mortgage industry. And so the collaboration that's going to happen in that kind of intimate 60-person environment, I think is going to be very different than what we might be used to when there's 300 or 400 people and we kind of can't catch our breath. So I'm really excited about the format that you have planned for it. I'm gonna take a little bit of a left turn here because there's so many brilliant business-minded people that are great at scripting and people that are great at social media, and all the business stuff I think is going to be really well addressed by your panel that's going to speak. I'm going to talk about 6 daily rituals to increase your personal freedom. And just to give you like a little bit of an insight, I've been watching over the last few years as incomes in the mortgage industry have started to go down. People have started to enjoy their life a little less. They're feeling less free. They're feeling a lot of weight on them. So I've tried to pull myself out of that and go, okay, if I look at what real personal freedom is to me, money could be a component of it. But if I only have money and I don't have the rest of this stuff, my life is miserable. So what are the things that I can focus on outside of mortgage and revenue and money that I can maximize my personal freedom? So as we're going through this market shift, I can still have a great quality of life. I can deal with the ups and downs, and I can be inspired to come to work every day. So that's what I'm going to be talking on. I'm excited to join you.
So say the title again, 6 daily
rituals to maximize your personal freedom.
All right. So I'm going to advocate, by the way, I'm kind of kidding, that there's a 7th that is business, guys, and that's doing a total cost analysis by noon, win by noon. So I'm sure Josh is going to share 6 amazing personal rituals that may not be business, but if you throw a 7th in there, which is make sure you give advice versus price and you do a TCA by noon, like I actually posted in our group today, I got a text from Jeremy. I was out taking my walk and him and I have a little chat going back and forth, and I sent him a picture. He sends me back a picture of, he's done 9 TCAs and it wasn't even 8 o'clock in the morning yet. So it was like 9 TCAs by 9 in the morning. So sweet.
That's actually, I mean, success leaves clues, right? Jim Rohn teaches us that. And when I was in the peak of my origination years, I had this win by noon ritual before there was win by noon. And every morning we'd start our day off with a 15-minute gratitude meeting. By the way, my team has been doing that for 10 years. We did it this morning. We do it 5 days a week. And then at 8:30 in the morning, we would go into 2 to 3 hours of non-disturbed DND time, we would call it, where it would just be outbound communication. We'd be sending out our TCAs. We'd be responding to leads, calling into our referral partners, calling into past clients. But that super intentionality around the first 3 hours of your day, as you're describing, that's a hallmark of someone who's crushing it in this industry, regardless of what's going on with mortgage rates or anything else.
So by the way, guys, I'm going to put a link to the video Josh just called out. It was one of my favorite interviews. It was before the meltdown. I want to say it was 2019, and I think it was called, gratitude for greatness. I'll look it up, guys. I'll put a link down below, but that interview where he talked about, doing this gratitude practice and dialing for dollars, winning by noon, one of my all-time favorite interviews. So bro, let's get into the topic at hand. Like I always do, I invite great people and I say, hey, what do you want to talk about? What's the topic? And Josh said, 2023, boom or bust, your perspective is your reality. So why did you pick that as the topic today? And what does that mean?
So inside my own group, I am seeing that mortgage advisors have one of two perspectives, and they vacillate. Sometimes the same person can have the different perspective one day or the next, right? And that's just indicative of the challenges that we're seeing in the market right now. Low inventory, high interest rates, low margins, lots of rate shopping. Like, it's a frustrating, more challenging time in the industry. But what I've found is those people who are intentional around the opportunity, focusing on the opportunity, rather than just focusing on the challenges, those people that are taking care of themselves, those people that are finding content like this that's inspirational, those people that are getting their workouts in and getting the right amount of sleep and are getting their prayer or meditation or their quiet time and morning or night, those people are doing really well. They're still making progress. Now it's difficult, it's more challenging, but they are winning. And so my big epiphany for 2023 is there's going to be a lot of opportunity. There's going to be a lot of abundance. I'm going to show you some ideas. We're going to talk about some things here today. But if you have gotten yourself into a mindset or a perspective that all you see is the challenges and the negatives, and you kind of project those things forward into forever, it's going to be a challenging year. If you look at the market and you see opportunity, Dave, I'm happy to share with you what I see as the 3 biggest opportunities this year. But if that's where your perspective is, then that's what you're going to take action on, and that's how you're going to approach business and life. It's like the reticular activator, right? From Think and Grow Rich that Napoleon Hill taught us. Once you see something and you're aware of it, your mind tends to confirm that bias and see it everywhere. Well, if it's challenges and problems, then you're going to see gloom in 2023. If it's opportunity, you're going to see boom in 2023.
I couldn't agree more. And so let's get into the tactics, the details. Remember, guys, this is a community of mortgage professionals that believe that advice is more valuable than price. So if you have questions for Josh, put those down below. There's a lot of you, hundreds of you watching this live, whether it's in Zoom, whether it's in our Facebook group. Put your questions, put your takeaways. And if you're watching this, which is our biggest audience, my guess is this will have over 1,000 views. Put your questions in YouTube and we'll still get to them, even if it's not live. So Josh, walk us through some of those thoughts.
Okay, so the 3 biggest opportunities I'm seeing for 2023, and a lot of these revolve inside of our own databases, but the 3 biggest opportunities is, number 1, there is a massive amount of misinformation about inflation, recessions, mortgage rates, and the housing market. The general consensus is that we're going to have a housing crash in 2023. I'm going to show you some statistics that came from a survey from NerdWallet. So becoming a true mortgage advisor where you have the data to explain to our referral partners and explain to our customers how 2023 is nothing like 2008. And this isn't just conjecture. This isn't just my opinion. I think housing's going to do good. Like, you've got to be able to know the data and explain it. And when you can do that, you take people from being fearful and sitting on the fence to confident and committed to buy a house. But I think the number 1 opportunity is for us to become that advisor in 2023, because I don't think the need has ever been bigger. The second big opportunity that I'm seeing, Dave, is the fact that the amount of non-mortgage consumer debt is near an all-time high, with credit cards approaching $1 trillion, and the average credit card rate is above 19%. Home equity lines now have an average rate above 8.5%. So there's this moment in 2023 where inflation is going to drive mortgage rates down. But I believe the Federal Reserve will continue to be driving up short-term interest rates like home equity lines. Of course, they control the Fed funds rate, right? So what would be impacted on the Fed funds rate? Equity lines, credit cards, shorter duration loans. There's going to be this moment where the mortgage rates are lower than the rest of those rates. It's going to make a lot of sense to refinance those people and do cash out debt consolidation, free up money from their monthly budget for investments, so on and so forth. And then the third opportunity, Dave, and I've just talked to a lot of clients who I've asked the question of, are you still enjoying your home? And a surprisingly high number of them have said, you know what? We made a decision to buy a home in about 17 minutes. We didn't check out the schools the way we should. We really didn't walk the home. We didn't do our due diligence. Now we're in this home at a 3% interest rate and we feel trapped. So having those conversations with our referral partners to get us new opportunities and to become the conversion arm up for our realtors, opportunity number one. Having really deep conversations with our past customers that are already in homes, opportunity number 2 and 3. But if we capitalize on those things, and if that's where we rest our focus, I think this is going to be an epic year.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with pretty much everything you're saying. I do want to put a framework around it. I don't know that you've seen this, Josh. I'm going to share my screen because I know you're going to be sharing your screen a lot in just a minute. But I put a lot of thought at the beginning of this year. I studied all the top interviews that I've done. I'm going to put a link to this down below. It's what I call the 6 mega trends of $100 million producers. So make sure you study this. And by the way, everything Josh just said aligns with this framework. The number one mega trend I see is, I call it the data-driven advice era. Yep. I do believe we've entered a new era in lending. When I got in the business, the first era that I jumped into was rates coming down. And then the next era was the digital transformation. Like when this phone was announced from stage, that was a new era. But guys, now for the first time in my career, rates have bottomed out. Like 26% or 23% of Americans that have a mortgage starts with 2. 39% start with 3. 20% start with 4. And we don't even know if rates are going to get down into the 4s for the next couple of years. So pretty much it's the first time in our careers where we're probably never going to see 2% rates again. So I kind of come to this, number one priority. It is the data-driven advice era. And that means you need to be a data-driven mortgage advisor. And so that first one that Josh talked about, where he's like, there's a lot of misinformation. Well, first of all, guys, you need to know the data and you need to educate with data. And he's going to do that in a minute, I'm sure. And you need to turn your database into a data bank. And I've interviewed Josh. I know he's doing that. You got to be a mortgage coach. You got to deliver advice over price. And then, guys, certainly not least, you need to know your numbers and you need to win by noon. You need to know what your conversion is, know how you're performing, like data. And when I think of data, most people just think of alerts. Like when I think of data, it's everything. So Josh, I love how you framed these 3 opportunities. Let's get into the conversation and walk us through them.
Yeah. So how do we capitalize on those 3 opportunities? If you believe what I believe, that those are the big opportunities of 2023, how do we capitalize on it? So I just finished a presentation that I'm going to be teaching to our mortgage advisors later today. And this framework is something that can empower consumers to be more confident about the market. It can also empower realtors, because a lot of the realtors that I'm talking to are starting to lose faith in the market. And we need to be their buoy, if you will, to make sure that they are feeling confident as well. So I've provided this slide deck to Dave. He's has my permission to share it with you all. But I'm preparing for presentations, as I said, for both realtors and clients that are a little freaked out. So this is when I start a presentation, I always follow the Donald Miller formula of influence, which is, if you want to capture somebody's attention, start with the problem. All right, so I found this NerdWallet survey. This just came out a week ago. And what it said was 83% of those people polled say buying a home is a priority to them. That's great. Fantastic. Okay, we got a strong market. Nearly 28 million Americans plan to buy a home this year. Fantastic, especially because there's only less than 6 million homes sold in 2022. So we've got a lot more buyers than we have homes available to sell. That's good. That's good for the market. 70% planned to buy a home in 2022, but they did not succeed because their offers weren't accepted or they couldn't find affordable homes. So the top 3 bullet points say, hey, there is opportunity here. People want to be homeowners if they can find a path, the information, and the inspiration to move forward. Here's the problem. The bottom 3 bullet points. 67% said they expect an imminent housing crash. Okay, we've got some of that expert advice that we can share, so that's good. We know the problem. 61% told pollsters that current mortgage rates are unprecedented. They've never been this high before. So there's some education opportunities for us to do there. Those of you that are doing short form content, I can see a video coming from that bullet point. And 57% feel worse about their ability to buy a home in 2023 because mortgage rates will be higher. So in summary, the American consumer, those polled by NerdWallet, which I would assume are somewhat financial savvy people because they're on a financial website seeking financial advice, 2/3 think that there's going to be a housing crash. 60% thinks rates have never been this high, and 57% think rates are going higher. That is a heck of an opportunity for us to step in and educate consumers. I'm going to go through this a little quick because I really want to get into some of the scripting that we learned from Phil Jones last week as it relates to the second 2 opportunities of our database. But as Dave was showing, this is based on these numbers that came from JP Morgan, NAR, CoreLogic, Black Knight, they calculate that 80% of borrowers have a mortgage rate below 4%. So we know where the future business is going to come from. The future business is going to come from people who are sitting in this 4, 3, 3.5, 3, 2% interest rate range. These are our clients that are already in those homes that have fears about what's going to happen in the market in 2023. And I believe it's just incumbent upon us to present them with enough data to challenge their assumptions about the market and help them make better decisions. Because I know a lot of these people are in these low rate first mortgages. They have credit card debts at 19%, equity lines at 8 or 9%, student loans at elevated rates, or they don't like their homes. So we got to get to these people and we got to educate these people. So this is where I see the opportunity, but we have to get to that opportunity with education. So let's talk a little bit about.
Josh, before we go to this next one, could you go back to that one?
You bet.
So, and I've been talking about this all month, guys, but if you haven't already done it, it's not too late. Be the one that brings this news and this data to realtors. So I know in the first 2 weeks of the month, most mortgage professionals did not know this. Almost no real estate professionals really understood the gravity and the number of people that have interest rates, that start with a 2 and a 3. So when you bring this sobering fact to a real estate agent, first of all, you become an authority. And then 2, when you're like, hey, this is a new problem, all you listing agents, new challenge. And you know what? I have some ideas. I have some strategies. So guys, every realtor in America is up for grabs right now. And I still believe that to be true. The loan officers that helped them in the past, that were like the loan officers that had great rates, could close loans on time, knew how to do a competent transaction. Guys, that is not enough going forward. That's why I talk about we are in a new era in the mortgage industry, the data-driven advisor era, where the mortgage professionals and the real estate advisors that have the data, know how to tell stories around the data, know how to help consumers make decisions with data, they own the future. So, but it's not too late. Like if you haven't brought this to every realtor, great slide. Actually, I think this is a better slide than the one that we have. I will be borrowing this, Josh. Thank you very much. Keep it rolling.
You know why I just realized the discrepancy between your slide said 60% and this shows 80%? These are dollars. they're judging this by dollars, Dave. So you can see that, there's $1.5 trillion of 3.5% debt, $1.25 trillion of 4%. So this is dollars, and yours, I think.
No. So mine's right. What my slide says that 63% are a 2 or a 3. And then add a 20% under 4. So I just made the claim. I did under, starts with a 2 or 3, and you did, but we have the same data.
Got it.
The same data.
The other thing that's important about that slide is, if we go back to this primary fear, 67% said they expect an imminent housing crash. This is a great slide. Look, you've got $2 trillion worth of fixed rate, 30 and 15-year fixed mortgage at 3%. You've got another $1.5 trillion at 3.5%, another $1 trillion at 4%. These are your buckets right here.
They're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere. And if I got a 2.5% mortgage and I bought this property in 1920 or 21, I damn sure could rent it out for positive cash flow, because rents have been going up at 16, 17, 18% a year. If any slide in the world was going to tell you why we're not going to have a housing crash, it's this slide. We just have to, and we can take this to our realtors and we say, look, our buyers of 2023 are stuck. Let me help you unstick them. I don't know. What's the right word for that?
I like unstuck them. I'm good with
unstuck
that.
Unstuck them.
For teachers.
And if you're worried that there's going to be a mortgage meltdown, look at this. Everybody's at a 2, 3, 4% rate on fixed rate loans. This is not the recipe of a meltdown. But what is the problem? What is the problem with the housing industry? Well, okay. The problem is that mortgage payments are up 29.3% year over year. So if we look at the average home price and an interest rate of 6.13 as of January 22nd, 2023, we got a payment of 23.23. Now, if we go back and we look at the start of the year of 22, we're looking at about right around the same period of time. Let's say that payment was 1750-ish, starting the year probably down around 1650. So the challenge, the reason why the mortgage market and the real estate market slowed down was because the average American saw a $673 per month increase in payment. And that was enough to slow down the market. But the question is this: is that problem getting worse, or is that problem getting better? In other words, is affordability going up? Is it more affordable, or is it less affordable to own a home? And that's what we need to determine to have forecast or have line of sight into what's going to happen in the real estate market. And by the way, if I was teaching this slide, I would pause and I would say, does this make sense to you? This 1650 to 2323, is this why you believe the real estate market slowed down? And Dave, I think you would say, yeah, I think that's it. It just became unaffordable. Okay, cool. So let's see. Go ahead, bud.
No, I said, of course. I mean, I think
of course,
like shaking their head. You're telling stories, you're educating with data, and realtors and consumers are like, yeah, it makes sense.
So Phil Jones taught us in last week's Mortgage Coach interview the OFQ framework, and the F is a mutually agreed upon fact. So I want to get you in this slide. My intentionality is for you to agree with me that the problem and the slowdown in the housing market was due to unaffordability. And then I'm going to lead you down a path that makes you realize or be open to the idea that this might be getting better, not worse. All right. So another way to look at this, if we go back to 1984, so roughly 40 years, we're looking at affordability at the end of 2022, November. Let's just say this was the peak of the interest rate market, November of 2022, that essentially we had the least affordable real estate and mortgage market going back in almost 40 years. So that's where the brakes came into the entire industry. We saw not only the price of homes go up, but that really wasn't what slowed down the housing industry. It was mortgage rates, because mortgage rates have 3 times the impact on a payment than does the price of the home alone. So if we really want to know where the real estate market is going to go, We got to figure out, is housing payments going up or down? Is housing being more affordable or less affordable? So let me connect a few of the dots here as it relates to affordability. And most people might be surprised to learn that right now, January 23, homeowner affordability is getting better. This is a report that just came out on January 5th by ADP. ADP services over 60 million payrolls across the country. And their reports show that annual average pay was up 7.3%. Those are the people who stayed in their job. So if I stayed at my job, the average American saw a 7.3% increase in pay. If I changed jobs, they call those switchers, job switchers, you saw a 15.2% increase in pay. Well, if we average those out, the number that are stayers versus switchers, it's about a 9% increase in household income. So the other thing that this report showed us was that the average household income in 2022 was about $9,000 a month. If we see a 9% increase, that's a $800 a month increase in wages. So yes, it's true that we saw 2 slides ago, your payment on the average mortgage went up about $650. But it's also true, it's about $750 if we say this started at $1,650. Let's call it $750. But it's also true that wages are going up at some of the fastest pace ever in history. So I had a $750 increase in mortgage payment, but I had a $900 increase in wages. So that's helping affordability, and that should continue through the end of 23. The other thing that's helping affordability is mortgage rates. Now, it's important for us to know, if we want to know what direction mortgage rates are going, we don't watch the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve sets the Fed funds rate. The Fed funds rate is an overnight interbank lending rate. Has nothing to do with a 30-year fixed mortgage rate. They are both moving in a similar higher trajectory, or had been, because of inflation. But in June of 22, inflation peaked at 9.1%. And every single month since then, inflation has been going down. And we saw mortgage rates towards the end of last year peak in November. And now we're seeing mortgage rates go down. Now, one of those previous data points from NerdWallet said that, we're in unprecedented mortgage rates. Well, that's not true, right? If we go back to the early 2000s, we saw interest rates above 7%. They just didn't last long. They just continued to kind of have this downward trajectory or curve, which is very likely to what we're going to see now, because inflation drives mortgage rates. We see the peak on November 10th or thereabouts. We see mortgage rates going down to just above 6%. And we can see that inflation over the last 6 months has continued to go down. As it does, so will mortgage rates. So housing will continue to get more affordable. Dave, you want to jump in? Anything you want to add there?
No, I mean, great example of, the data and you're using data to help consumers and realtors make better decisions that help them achieve financial freedom through investing in real estate. So I love it. I just can't emphasize enough, guys. This is what I'm calling the data-driven mortgage advisor compass. Everything that you're seeing here is due west, in that compass. Like, he is using data, he's educating with data, and it's just a textbook example.
Now, thanks, Dave, and just to kind of tie this down, why is that important for me to show people that inflation's going down and mortgage rates are following? Well, it's because 57% of people who are interested in buying a home, those are homeowners or renters, they think that mortgage rates are going to go higher. So we have to educate them. We have to show them, we have to create a counter narrative to the news that mortgage rates are not going higher. They peaked a few months after inflation peaked, and they're headed lower, right? So we've got to educate them that. And by the way, 9 out of 10 realtors don't know that the Federal Reserve doesn't set mortgage rates, right? Like, this is a perfect week. The Fed's going to announce Fed policy on Wednesday, probably going to get a 0.25% increase. And realtors are going to think that mortgage rates are going up. So this is a perfect opportunity to step into a sales meeting or a coffee meeting with a realtor and educate them on this. All right, so wages are going up. That's going to help affordability. Mortgage rates are going down. That's going to help affordability. And housing prices have moderated. We can see, so each one of these lines represents a year. So in 2020, housing prices started over here in January. They moved upwards throughout the year. They moved from about 250 to, let's call that 325,000. And we can kind of see that each year, 2020, 2021, 2022, and then here we are in 2023. Average sales price, median sales price, not average, median sales price, right about 350,000, which is up 1.1% from last year. So are we down from the peak? For sure we are, right? In fact, the peak of housing, this is interesting. I just saw this. The peak of housing prices was June. And then it started to come down. Well, that was also where inflation peaked. Inflation peaked in June, and we really saw an acceleration of kind of mortgage rates through November. And then those mortgage rates started to come back down. So with house prices moving more sideways, mortgage rates going down, and incomes going up, Dave, is housing getting more affordable or less affordable in 2023?
Well, I guess it's getting more affordable.
Yes, because the American consumer has more income coming into their checking account. According to ADP, the average American has an additional $900 coming into their checking account. We're going to have lower mortgage rates, which is going to drop the payment. And instead of seeing this kind of skyrocketing valuation that we've seen over the last couple of years from 250,000 all the way to almost 400,000, we're starting to see more of a sideward trading real estate market. So we have more affordability than we did in 2022. And the reason why the market slowed down in 2022 was the lack of affordability. So what I'm trying to describe is everything that came together to slow down the market in 2022 is reversing in 2023. We're seeing the opposite of that starting to take effect. And if we think about this just from a, Econ 101, Dave, right? Supply and demand, right? What's going to happen to the price of an asset? Well, tell me how much demand and how much supply you have. Well, if I have more affordability, I believe I'm going to have more demand. Does that make sense to you? Does that jive?
Agreed.
For sure. Okay, so then let's talk about the supply side of the equation. We have the blue line being existing homes for sale. Now, just to kind of give you context, because people are a little worried that 2023 is like 2008. In 2008, we had about 3.8 to 4 million homes for sale on the market. Fast forward to 2023, we have, this would indicate about 1 million, but 1.5 million. But Dave, the most recent data that came out of the NAR for the month of December coming into January shows that there's only 970,000 homes for sale across the country. Oh, well, maybe people will just move into apartments then. Well, let's look at the vacancy rates. This is residential home vacancy rates across the country. Vacancy rates in the Great Recession got as high as about 2.5%. Vacancy rates right now below 1%. So my thesis is we're going to have more demand because of increasing affordability. And we're going to see prices actually do pretty dang well in 2023 because there's just no supply. There's no inventory of homes.
Yeah. And also just reminder, guys, from early on in the stage or early on in the story, and we have more people with, in homes with interest rates at 2 and 3%. So they're going to be less likely to list their homes. And again, we haven't even got into other factors like now everybody who's in a mortgage actually qualified based on their income. Everybody who's in a mortgage has higher credit scores. So, the story goes on, all of the data points to, it's an exciting time to be in housing if you're a data-driven advisor, both real estate agent and mortgage professional. It just requires more education, which again aligns to that point I'm making, guys. We are in a new era of housing. Realtors need to upgrade on how they use data to tell stories to consumers. Loan officers need to upgrade in how you use data to help families make better decisions. So Josh, we're a little past the halfway point. We are in the third quarter of this interview. And I think you've just done a textbook example of going west in the compass, using data to educate both consumers and referral partners. So where are we going to go now?
Let me just tie this down, because Renee would have my, you know what, if I didn't tie this down.
I told you all this because
and I share this with you because, Dave, one of my favorite athletes in the world was named Wayne Gretzky. I know you know Wayne Gretzky. He had that famous quote, right? I skate to where the puck is going, not to where the puck has been. And so I share all that information because I want you to have the insights and the information you need to know where the puck is going. Let me explain this last slide, and then we can talk about how this all relates to your situation. This is the average home sold to list price. So in other words, in 2022, we saw that homes in May were selling for 102.5% of their list price. So, you know, they're 2.5% over, which means you're having multiple offers, you're having bids. This is when we had to write earnest monies that were non-refundable, no inspections, no financing contingencies, close in 17 days. And I'm going to bid 50,000 more than the next family next to me. That was what the market was giving us in 2020, early 2022, and especially in 2021. We saw incredibly low mortgage rates, but we saw terrible terms as it relates to your ability to really assess, is this the right dream home for your family? If we look at that in 2022, right now in January 22nd of 2023, you're able to get a home about 2 to 2.5% less than list price. The point here is, if we believe that housing is going to become more affordable and mortgage rates are going to go down in the coming year, then that means right now is the opportunity, because we can use this delta between what somebody's asking at 100% of list price and what they're willing to sell for below 98% of list price. And we can use that spread or that difference to cover your closing costs. We can use it to buy down your mortgage rate from a 6% rate to a 4% rate. We can use it to reduce the sales price of the home. We have all kinds of flexibility in the market. But I want to show you this trend. You'll notice there's this normal seasonality. This time of year, you have a more favorable term, so to speak. You're able to buy kind of below the list price historically. But as we get into the summer, March, April, May, June, this is when the buyers come out of the woodwork, especially when housing is getting more affordable and incomes are going up and mortgage rates are going down. And we would expect, as we go into this year, we're going to go back towards 100% of what the ask price is. So for me, Dave, if I'm to tie this all up with a bow on it, this is the golden opportunity in the market to get the home you want, where the inventory is actually there, and be able to get it below what the average asking price is.
Very exciting times for the data-driven mortgage advisor. So first of all, anybody have questions? I don't see questions coming in. You know, I would love, and I don't know, I know you have other specific things that you want to go through, but I do know, I do want to get some of your commentary on some of the new lessons, some of the new moves we learned from our good friend, Phil Jones. And
that's where we're going, brother. Yep.
For years, guys, you know, and I got 2 major takeaways from that interview. It's been watched over 1,700 times. I hope it gets watched 5,000 times because the guy crushed it. So scripting that I have developed over time, I've had this script edited by some of the best mortgage professionals in the country. And Phil came in, and while it may seem like subtle edits, you know, going from my advice helps you to our continued advice helps you. And he made this other thing going from my team will to your team will proactively. So like super subtle moves, but one, it ties around that whole, something that you and I are very passionate around, like make the customer the hero versus be the hero. So
Yeah.
it totally ties around those lessons learned. And so, let's get into that. What did you take away from that interview with Phil that you think would be valuable to this community?
Well, just to go back to the 3 areas of opportunity I see this year. So the first opportunity was to challenge the narrative that there's a housing crash and mortgage rates are going higher and that this is a bad time to buy. So hopefully we did that in the first half of this training. The second half of this training is the other 2 opportunities. People have non-mortgage debts that are incredibly high interest rates, or they made a rash decision to buy a home that no longer fits them, or they just, had kids. Jobs change, like they have the need now to want to go buy a new home, but maybe for one reason or another, they have a 3% interest rate. They've decided not to take that proactive step forward. So that walks us into this Phil Jones scripting that I kind of broke down. And Dave, you and I went back and forth on this, but what Phil Jones taught us was this framework for having a pretty simple, and we talked about the fact that this framework really neutralizes the friction in conversation, how to get permission to have these conversations with past clients, realtors. He calls it the OFQ, right? The opening needs to be pleasant. Fact, which has to be mutually agreeable, and a question that must be easy to answer. And the purpose for this OFQ is quite simply to get permission to move forward with the next question, which is the question you really want to ask. Phil's just saying, get in the water a little slower. Anything you want to add to that framework?
I guess I might add a word. The question must be easy to answer, but it also must uncover the problem that you can solve. So it's strategic. It's not just the most easiest to ask question. It's a question that helps, have the, hey, you got a problem, I got a solution. Or you have an opportunity, I have a solution to that opportunity. Anything you would add to that?
I actually understood the framework slightly different in that the OFQ, that question is easy to answer. And his question was, hey, this is Josh Mettle with Neo Home Loans. We worked together, Dave, when you bought your home there in Southern California in 2019. Oh yeah. Hey, Josh. Hey, are you still enjoying your home? Right? Or I think he said, I'm just checking in to see if you're still living, or not just, I'm checking in to see if you're still living in the home.
You're right. Well, what we really need to speak to my point is there's 4 steps. You're right. There is the easy to answer question. And then to your point, and you're totally right. I'm just a sales guy, so I'm only focused on that.
Let's go.
I think we need to make in our training, we need hey, there's 4 steps, guys. Bill taught us, but you're 100% right. It's just getting them to say yes. And then we start opening up problem solving questions.
Yep. So to explain this, right? Hey, this is Josh Mettle from Neo Home Loans. That is the pleasant opening. Fact, we helped you acquire your home at 123 Easy Street. Oh, yes, you did. Question, are you still enjoying your home? Or are you still living in your home? Whatever would be appropriate based on your level of communication with that customer. And this framework brings down the barrier and gives you the agreement and permission to ask that next question. And I think that's what you were alluding to, Dave.
Yeah, and that's number 4. I got ahead of myself. And guys, by the way, guys, if you're using the emojis, guys, this is a heart. Like Josh really took that and turned it into something extraordinarily valuable. And he's going to walk you guys through a few of these where you could do the opening conversation. Now, to really optimize this, you do need to be monitoring your database with Sales Boomerang, just saying. That will help give you lots of opportunities to use these scripts. But guys, even if you're not monitoring your database with Sales Boomerang, you can still call and do annual reviews. You can still leverage these scripts. You're just going to be able to take a lot more swings at the bat if you're using a great CRM that's powered by our intelligence platform. Anyways, keep it rolling, bro.
Amen. So this is just, I've got a few scripts directly for the Sales Boomerang alerts, but this is just to teach the framework, right? So we start in the top section with an OFQ. That gets us the permission to ask the question we really want to ask. I'm checking in with you because at this point in home ownership, Dave, people often find themselves in one of three scenarios. They've either outgrown their home, they want to pay off their loan faster, or they want to tap equity potentially to pay off liabilities or make investments, acquire more assets. Which one are you? And that gives Dave the space to say, well, actually, none of those. I'm looking to move to Costa Rica. Or Dave can say, actually, yeah, I'm absolutely number one. I'm not necessarily outgrown, but my kids have all grown up and I'm ready to move, right? But it gives us that permission to ask a question that if we started with this question, like imagine if we didn't do the OFQ, Dave, and I just called and said, hey, Dave, it's Josh. I'm checking in with you because I want to know if you've outgrown your home, you want to pay off your loan, or you want to tap equity. That wouldn't land, right? We have to have this OFQ framework to get into this question without resistance. All right, so let's take this a step forward. So then what Dave challenged me to do is he said, okay, take that OFQ framework that you're a fan of and apply it to the different alerts. So I came up with this scripting for listings, rate watch, equity alerts, mortgage inquiry, and cash out refinances. Same OFQ. Hey, this is Josh from Neo. We helped you acquire your home at 123 Easy Street. Are you still enjoying your home? Oh, I love it, man. I was just sending my buddy views from the beach this morning. It's incredible. Oh man, that's great. I'm checking with you because what I've found, Dave, is that at this point in home ownership, people often find themselves in one of three scenarios. Boom, same questions. Didn't need to change these questions at all. It just seems to flow. But I think the point is if you take the time to write these out and make them your own for the different inquiries or alerts that you get in Sales Boomerang, I think you're going to find that these conversations go a lot easier if you have a framework. And I think you'll have a lot less trepidation to actually step in and make those calls.
Hey, Josh, before you go to this next one, go back to the slide before this. You know, one of the things that I'm advocating is that every listing insight that you guys get, that you're creating a total cost analysis that you bring to the listing agent that shows affordability strategies to help sell that home with strategies powered by MortgageCoach, and that you also create a second TCA to go to the seller of that home. And just assume, by the way, what do you think would be the right assumption? Is it like they're buying a house 20% more? So if it's a $400,000 house, maybe we create a $500,000 TCA. What would you put in as the assumption on the, call it the seller TCA for a listing alert?
I'd probably do both. I'd probably do one at a 20% higher, and I might do a move up or move down and show the benefits of either one.
That's interesting. So anyways, guys, just want to make sure I get all you mortgage coaches thinking around, you know, expanding the value of a listing alert. It's not only an opportunity to reach out to an agent, it's an opportunity to reach out to a seller and use data to help them build wealth with real estate and achieve financial freedom faster.
Dave,
All right, bro.
there's one other thing that, and I know we've got 10 minutes here, so I'll move fast, but there's one other thing that Phil Jones said that really stuck out to me in that interview. He said, never insert your content before you understand their context. And what I love about this framework is this question, which one are you, is to tell me what their context is. I want to move up, I want to move down. I want to pay off my loan faster, I'm following Dave Ramsey, or I'm dying to invest in real estate because I'm following Kiyosaki, right? And this helps me understand their context, and I can ask them what's standing in their way of doing that thing that they want to do. And as I learn more about them, I can find out, well, actually, I'm just scared to death about this freaking real estate market. Cool. Can we schedule another 15 minutes? I totally understand that. I'm hearing crazy headlines too. That's actually prompted me to do a deep dive into the real estate, mortgage, and economy. and I've got about 15 minutes worth of data I'd love to share with you. Boom, then we drive them to some sort of an information presentation, like what I opened with. But if we don't know their context, we really don't know what the right content is for them to help them make the right decision.
Roger
Life
that.
events. So the life events, marriage, graduation, and baby alerts, same framework, OFQ. Hey, it's Josh from Neo. We helped you acquire your home at 123 Easy Street. Are you still enjoying your home? Oh man, we love it. Or we outgrew it. Or, oh my gosh, we just had a baby, right? I'm checking in with you because many of my clients are experiencing significant life changes, right? So I'm not necessarily saying I got a life alert. I'm just simply saying my clients are experiencing significant life changes, such as taking a new higher paying job, getting married or significant change in relationships, having a new baby, or inviting older family members to live with them. Are there any significant life events happening in your life? Right? Again, just getting that permission to ask the question that we really want to ask, but we've kind of rigged the game here a little bit, right? Because we know because of the alert, there's likely something that's going on, but we don't have to say, you know, we're monitoring your marriage status. Any feedback you want to share on that, Dave?
No, I just want to remind folks, you know, it's never been more important that you're monitoring your database. But remember, guys, you're on social media. You know when people are doing these things. I just want to remind you that if you focus on being of value to folks and being there for them when they're having life transitions, you're gonna do great. You know, like you build this database, and then constantly, you know, you got to go from you're no longer a loan officer that is looking for people that want loans, that need loans for you to pre-qualify and close rates on time. You need to become a data-driven mortgage advisor. You know, I'm looking on social media. I heard from a friend. I do have my database being monitored, and you're looking for opportunities to bring service and value and clarity. You know, like, and you know, even us at you know, Sales Boomerang and Mortgage Coaches, we build this borrow intelligence platform. We're starting to use like data alerts to predict opportunities. It's like it's more than just the alert. It's like when is there a series of alerts? It's like, there's a first time
something's happening.
Oh, this looks like someone who looks like they'd buy their second home or become a real estate investor. Or this looks like someone that is ready to move up. We got to just heighten your insight. And yes, it's technology, but it's also just being situationally aware. And you're out hunting for opportunities to use these scripts. You know, they're not scripts, they're talk tracks. They're structured conversations with purpose and intention. And the purpose and intention is to bring value that has context. So I love that you called that out. So Josh, we got 7 minutes left. Let's make sure we get through your slides.
I'm going to share one more slide, and then there's a question from Paul Hurley in the chat that I want to answer. So those of you who are, you know, focused on an older demographic and reverse mortgages, I thought this was a great, easy OFQ framework for empty nesters or reverse mortgages, other life events that come from Sales Boomerang. Hey, it's Josh at Neo. We helped you acquire the home at 123 Easy Street. Oh, yes, you did. Hey, I'm just checking to see. Oh, I got to get rid of the just. Hey, I'm checking in with you, Dave, to see if you're still enjoying your home. Oh, yeah, very much. At this point in home ownership, Dave, I find that our clients have likely one of three scenarios going on. Either one, their home is too big, they no longer fits their lifestyle, they want to relocate to another climate, or they don't want to, they don't want to have to make a mortgage payment ever again. Which one are you? So this could be just another set of scripts to employ off these other life events. But I think the reason why people aren't as excited as calling into these life events is they just don't know what to say. They don't want to feel like a creeper monitoring clients. And this framework totally neutralizes that. All right.
Agreed. Love the framework. So what is the question you want to make sure we answer?
So Paul said,
the slides are in chat down below. We will also upload these into the file section of our Facebook group. You know, we'll label them so they're easy to find. Josh, I'm going to call him Josh Mettle, Mortgage Advisor Mastermind. dated 1/31 of 23. This is the last day of January. So we've just checked off 1 month in 23. What do you want to close out with, Josh?
All right. So Paul said, can you make the argument for people to leave their low rate and buy up, right? This is somebody who's trapped in a home that they've outgrown, they don't love, they want to move up, but they're having a lot of resistance. So the first thing that I would bring to their awareness is there is an opportunity right now in the housing market, because in 2022 and 2021, it was very commonplace that you were going to end up in a bidding war and you were going to have to pay over asking price. So now people are selling at a discount to the asking price. So while that is true, when you go to sell your house, you're going to have to probably discount it more than you would have had to in 2022 or early 2022 or 2021. But when you go to buy the house, the larger house, you're likely to get a discount on that property. And if you just think about it, the difference between those is about 3 to 5%. So if you lost 5% on a $400,000 house and you saved 5% on a $600,000 house, you ended up ahead. So you maximize your saving because you're moving up. In terms of the interest rate, if we think of what that cost would be, right? If we look at what Fannie Mae is projecting, and I'll throw this article in real quick, but here's what Fannie Mae is projecting they think rates are going to be this year, right? They're telling us that they think rates are going to fall down to the 4.5% range in the latter half of 2023. So if we can take the savings now from the lower price, and we just have to pay an elevated mortgage rate for the next 3, 6, 9 months, as inflation continues to come down, so will mortgage rates, we get the best of best worlds. We can capitalize on the home you really desire now and upgrade your lifestyle. We can take a greater savings on the home you're acquiring than what you're going to have to give up on what you're selling. And then we can refinance you to the mortgage that you really want come the fourth quarter as those rates go down and as Fannie predicts. So that would kind of be my scripting. And Paul, if you've got any other questions, I'd love to hear them if that lands for you, or if you want, okay, I got a heart, so I'll take that. Thanks, Paul.
All right, guys. And we're running out of time here, but guys, we're going to be seeing more TCAs. You could do a move up TCA. Column 1, is where you're at now. Column 2 is buying the house today. Column 3 is, you married the house and you dated the rate. And let's say you bought that house and your rate goes down to X. And then when you put in the appreciation rate, guys, is where it starts showing the wealth accumulation. Like, no, you're probably not going to beat the rate, but you could increase your net worth. You could achieve your financial freedom faster. And by the way, guys, sometimes it's rent out the current house. So I want to remind you all, we didn't have time to get into this particular TCA in detail. We're going to put a link to it in chat. But, you want to have slides like Josh had to explain national data, but then you need to localize that and personalize that. Hey, consumer, based off of the house you're going to buy, based off what you believe rates are going to do, based off what you believe appreciation rates are going to be, based off of what your goals are, context, now you deliver solutions. Josh, in the last 2 minutes, just real quick, describe this TCA so people know what it is.
Sure, you bet. Will you kill my video there real quick so I can kind of show that? And will you just slide down to the bottom section on the bottom right? Yeah, so basically, one of the things that Phil talked about in that interview last week was, how are you creating a divide between short-term savings and long-term value? And that really got me thinking, if we can't, in the absence of value, the only thing that matters is price. So in the far left vertical column there, where it says 30-year market rate, that's kind of like going interest, far left, Dave. That's kind of like 6.125 kind of average Fannie Mae rate for last week. Let's say they found a below market screaming deal at 5.875. Well, if I look at the total interest over 30 years on the difference between those two loans in the bottom right-hand corner, I think the difference was roughly $40,000. Yeah, ballpark, between 818 and 779. So you've got about $40,000 in difference in savings. But what I said was, let me tell you about our mortgage under management program. And by the way, that came from Craig Strand, so I got to give him props. Our guarantee to you is that we're not just serving you and your family for 30 days, but we're going to help you proactively manage your indebtedness for the next 30 years. We're watching mortgage-backed securities, inflation, the economy, everything that would be a predictor of mortgage rates. And at the moment that it makes sense to restructure your indebtedness, we're going to step back into your lives and tell you that it is time to take action to restructure that debt. If we think that, if we agree with Fannie Mae that rates, and the different analysts, Fannie, Freddie, they think rates are going to get somewhere between 4.5% and 5%. So later this year, anticipate a phone call from my team saying it's time, we're down around that 5% mark, let's refinance now before the market moves back up. Well, that would take your interest cost down to $644,000 from $818,000. That's an example of long-term value versus short-term savings. But let me show you how my team and I take it one step further. That monthly savings from your current interest rate to the 5% interest rate would save you $478 a month. Let's say we took that $478 a month, and instead of going to Starbucks, we applied it towards the principal of your home, paying off your loan in 23 years and driving down your total cost of the mortgage over the life of the loan. I don't see it on there. I think I got to go back. Yeah, driving it down from the short-term lower rate of $779,000 down to $476,000. So the assets, the mortgage under management advice saves you $300,000 over the short-term lower interest rate type program.
So guys, this is why advice always trumps and always beats rate. You know, and when you are a mortgage advisor, you could truly help people manage their mortgages under management. You could deliver advice where 1/8 of a rate, 1/4 of a rate, even 3/8 of a rate, even 0.5% difference in rate. When you are able to educate a consumer with data, and then you're able to personalize that data, and you're able to show a vision, you know, show it over time, guys, that's how we win this year. Josh, we've got a couple minutes over. Super grateful for you, man. I'm looking forward to, you know, doing more leadership, more training with you. Any closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
Yeah, go back and watch that Phil Jones interview a few more times and write out your own scripts or conversation tracks that really feel comfortable for you. I believe that framework is absolutely some of the best I've ever come across in the mortgage industry. So get after it.
All right, take care, everybody. We'll put links to all this down below. If you're watching us at our YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe, so every time we got a new video, you know about it. Make sure you share this with friends, and if you got value, give us a like on social media. Take care, everybody. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, community. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.